James is having scrambled tofu breakfast tacos and this wonderful cake that I've saved in the freezer since my birthday. And he's having a strawberry milkshake. I'm having the scrambled tofu and some romaine lettuce. I can't really have more than that because I indulged in this. And that's, I mean, if you're not burning fat, I don't think you should eat this, but it still has a lot of carbs. It's net carbs is 6 grams. So anyway, we're going to review CSI. This is the volume 5, so this is the last of the CSI, and I'm going to also talk about Bugonia, and mostly we're going to talk about the finale, I think, because
CSI.
Yeah, of CSI, because that was the most important thing. So I don't know if I'll need my shawl, but I brought it out just in case because I wasn't sure just how cool I would feel. So I guess I'll talk about Bugonia first because James didn't watch it. He listened to a bit of it in the background. He was studying, I imagine, biblical Greek, but I don't know.
You mean here?
Yeah.
I just studied geography. Geography of the United States, actually.
Okay. Well, in any case, this one has Emma Stone in it, and who doesn't love her? She's great. It's not, like, it got bottom of the stack because I just watched the CSI finale and I'm like, oh yay, you know, I'm not going to give it away because if you haven't seen it, well, you should see it. So, as much as the rest of that CSI Volume 5, James and I were watching it and going, you know, this is frustrating the way, like it used to be in CSI. You'd have Grissom, he'd be, I mean, his specialty was the insects, right? So he'd be looking at the insects, and it would be that would be a part of the show. You know, he would be showing that his expertise were actually useful on the job. Whereas with Ted Danson's character, you're going, okay, well, he's a mycologist, but he never seems to.
He never uses it.
Yeah, so why did they hire a mycologist if he's never needed there? You know, maybe he was needed in that show. He's supposed to have come from Seattle. Maybe he was very much needed as a mycologist in Seattle. Very different climate than Las Vegas, right? So maybe had they done a CSI Seattle, then that would have made sense to have a mycologist as the, you know, go-to expert or something on the whatever. But
one thing to be said in his favor, at least in terms of casting him, is he seems more like a CSI. He's a big, tall guy.
yeah.
He doesn't seem like that little wimpy guy. Was he from Miami?
Oh yeah,
Napoleon,
Horatio Caine. Yeah, you hate
Horatio. And the guy from New York was, you know, always growling, had a big meat face and stuff like that. So I can kind of believe Denson in the role of someone who's into investigating but not out there in people's faces. That's the thing I like about Brass, or liked about Brass. I think he was there maybe from the very beginning, but he was there right till the end. He's like a typical cop. Got a smart aleck thing to say. Thinks he's really smart. All that sort of
as
stuff.
much as I don't identify with him, he's my favorite character on the show.
Yeah, to a large extent he is for me because he's just like a real cop. There are many different types of cops, but he's like one of the types. Yeah. They really love the smart aleck stuff, particularly when, you know, like gallows humor or whatever, you know. A lot of the guys, when a guy jumped off the high-level bridge, so that's about 300 feet, 100 meters, he just kind of pancaked, and guys were making jokes about they were debriefing people or whatever it is, you know, like trying to help people out. And I think it's kind of too late for cops who've been on the job for a long time. They've been kind of inured to this kind of stuff. It's like trying to help someone who's in a slaughtering house after they've been there 20 years or something like that. Like that's help you get over the trauma. Too late. Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
So with CSI, at the beginning, when Grissom was there, it seemed like everybody had a very different personality, and it was the way that the characters interacted was really planned out well. The things that the script that was written for the characters seemed like it was written for the characters, and then later on that wasn't the case. The things didn't seem well planned out. There seemed to be less of an emphasis on the showing us the science of what's happening with the CSI. We like that mystery. That's what really made the show popular.
I think so, but
then all of a sudden there was
they're out
one episode
out there doing the takedowns.
Yeah. There was one episode near the end where, what's his name? The guy who used to be in the lab, and then he became a CSI, the kind of wimpy blonde guy. What's his name again?
Was it Jog Ears?
Yeah, you like him.
I like him reasonably well.
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
Okay, well,
Even
in
though
any
it's
case, I can't
memorable,
remember
yeah.
his name right now, but yeah, he's a great character. But they just, anyway, they had him driving around following a suspect, like he was a tail.
Okay.
And it's like, what? Why would they have him? They have a whole police
Were
force
there,
people would have the expertise. Like we've seen people driving up the alley and stuff. And if we don't happen to see the police passing up the alley, we don't hear them. They're amazing. They really know what they're doing.
They're proud about how quietly they come in.
Yeah,
One guy
like
was
you
just
can look out, if you didn't happen to be looking out the window, you'll just look out all of a sudden and there will be a whole bunch of them there and you're like, how did that happen?
They come in slowly. Come in squealing tires. They don't come with all their lights ablazing. They don't come with their sirens.
No, it's
firing
impressive.
on all cylinders.
So, I mean, different people have different expertise, have different training, and why would you use the lab guy to tail? It doesn't make any sense.
I'm going to give you a possible scenario, but I presume they've got a huge police force there in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, as opposed to here in Lethbridge. Lethbridge would have about 10th the population, maybe in less. One time, one police officer turns up, and he's wearing a wig that makes Ronald McDonald's look suave. What's going on? He says, we're tailing someone, and we're taking turns. Okay, so it's possible if you were working in tandem with other people, multiple tandem. I don't know how many blocks they allow themselves, because they're not going. Even stupid criminals, and they almost all are stupid, are going to figure out that someone's tailing them if someone keeps following them. Oh, yeah, trade off. Have someone. They'd be keeping contact. Okay, he's going here, here, here. So you just come in, we'll drop off, and so on and so forth, or I'll drop off. So that's a possible scenario, but how many cops do you need? You could actually run a rotation, and a guy wouldn't necessarily figure it out. Anyway, they will wear disguises, and they don't care. I mean, but how are you going to see a Ronald McDonald wig? I mean, this thing looked worse than Andy Warhol's wig.
But
for Pete's sake.
yeah, with the CSI, a lot of it seemed like the lighting was wrong. A lot of things were wrong at the end. There's supposed to be the graveyard shift.
I didn't ever realize that. Okay.
And near the end, it was like, I guess nobody was getting paid overtime or something like that. Most of the shots were very much daylight, I don't know what they were thinking.
So they always wear the graveyard shift, eh?
I think so.
Well, the way they worked it at the cop shop is this. I think the ident guys, which would be like the CSI. I think they just work the day shift. Maybe they'd be brought in OT.
Well,
I'm not sure how it worked
Las
out.
Vegas.
Well, you have to work 24/7. 53.
I'm pretty
I'm
sure
afraid.
you would. Yeah.
Not 52. But
So.
the platoons themselves worked around the clock, so they they did shift work.
So not only did the lighting, it looked cheap. It looked like there were some episodes where it looked like daytime soap opera, really like 80s daytime soap opera, bad. And it made me feel very sad.
No.
Because we'd enjoyed the early CSI so much, right? Then there were the script writers. Sometimes the mysteries really weren't very well planned out, and definitely the dialogue wasn't well planned out. I don't know.
I noticed it in the last one.
The young woman, one day she was talking about, oh yeah, I went into that place once and the humidity was so high, my hair just went crazy. She has straight hair.
That's
the humidity,
blonde, eh?
the humidity's not going to make her hair go crazy. She has straight hair.
Yeah.
So if somebody, maybe the script writer, had went into that place and they had curly hair and their hair went crazy, or they knew somebody, but her hair isn't going to go.
No, it's like my sister had hair very much like hers, even straighter than yours. She'd put a crimp in her hair with those curling irons in the 70s. Before she had time to go out, one side was already gone, the other side was going.
So
that's how bad it was for her.
Yeah, she was talking about, anyway. And then there's other times where they're coming up with, a character will say, oh, that's a cancer drug or whatever, and it's like, okay, how would you know that? How would you possibly know that? Unless you had a family member or something like that who used it, you wouldn't know. Unless she's...
They've got some amazing knowledge.
/ oncologist or whatever.
I can see Grissom knowing about insects. He kind of specializes in it. Maybe it's a hobby or something like that. No. Some of these folks in it are just stunningly amazing. I know the people, I mean, this ain't Las Vegas, in Lethbridge, but I knew the people who worked in IDEN, and they were kind of average in terms of intellect, in terms of knowledge of this, that, and the other thing.
So, I don't know. I was reading online about, they were saying, oh, we wrapped things up even though it was a really popular show and everything. And I was thinking, was it really though at the end?
Popular or
yeah,
who knows? Usually they wrap it up because that's when they start marrying people off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
It just,
people are losing
at the end of it, yeah. And honestly, James and I lost interest as soon as Ted Danson came into the scene. We're like, oh dear. And now
they
we're
managed to
watching
maintain it okay, with him. But by comparison with Grissom, it was a majorly step down. Yeah, I gotta admit, it came with some baggage. I don't know if I ever watched a whole show of Cheers all the way through. I can't say I tried, but I think I'd be there when other people were watching, and I'd watch a little bit. And about my least favorite character was him in that show.
Yeah, and well, we did find something funny, like his wife is the actress who plays Rozoff, Frasier, and so Frasier was a spin-off of Cheers, and these guys came from Seattle, and Frasier, they were in Seattle, right? And so that's kind of funny, right?
Yeah, that's intended. Yeah.
Not enough. So he just wasn't. I don't know why they cast him for that.
You know what he should have been cast as?
Oh.
A high school social studies and gym teacher
Mm-hmm.
who worked overtime coaching the basketball team because he used to play basketball.
Yeah, that'd work for him.
He seemed to like basketball. He had the kind of build, starting to pork around the middle, but get porky in the paunch, shall we say. But he just had a build, I think, that would be Ted Danson. I hope he's still around, but yeah, would have served him very well with basketball. And he, they showed him.
So it's not even really his fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he wasn't good in that. Really, the best characters were the ones that had been around forever, like the guy who plays Brass, of course.
Yeah.
And Sarah Seidel and George Eads, whatever his name is.
Who's that?
George Eads? Is his name George Eads in real life? I think it is.
Describe.
The one that you think looks like
Eads.
a gay biker Mormon.
I shouldn't make jokes about gay, but I don't mind making jokes about Mormons. That's a lifestyle choice, even if you're born into the family.
Well, no, I mean you're
Mormon
not making fun of him when you
No,
say
really,
that because
no.
he's one of your favorite characters on the show.
Actually, he is, because actually he seems a bit like a cop. You know what he seems like? A cop has lost his driver's license, and they put him off into this, so he doesn't have to be out on the beat. It actually happened to here to city thing. He'd lost his license, drunk driving, and then he became the guy who drew the pictures.
Yeah, you mentioned it.
I don't know if I mentioned it on Zoom.
Yeah,
the guys complained
you
about
did
it
several times.
Well, I'm going to mention it again because it's so funny. I didn't like the guy anyway. He should have just been fired. But they said, we're getting tired of these pictures of balloons with ears. He never learned his trade. What a guy.
So, the finale though, we really enjoyed it. I don't know, although Sarah Seidel looked really great in the bee outfit. I don't know what that had to do with the show. I couldn't really follow what was going on, and I was thinking, would this really work? Why would the bees, what's the chance that they would bring back, anyway, I don't want to give it away.
Pheromones or whatever.
No, it was human remains, I think, or something
Okay,
like
there
that.
we go.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then I didn't see what the point with like how that tied into the rest of the show. But maybe I just missed something.
Yeah, we're just showing off the scenery around Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It's shocking that you can get something.
Yeah,
that,
so green.
But it's a very high mountain area, Mount Charleston or whatever it's called. Stuff like that. And it itself is only 25 miles away from part of Death Valley. Or, you get when you get high mountain ranges, stuff like that.
But besides that, I love the finale. I love that they brought back Catherine Grissom, Lady Heather. Perfect. So
You don't want to talk about this?
terrific. Yeah, I will. Because I haven't really talked about it. I meant to talk about it first. So Bugonia. This one, it says it's a psychological thriller, and it does start out interesting. It's maybe not interesting enough though. It's about a guy who abducts a woman because he believes that she's an alien. And it is funny that I watched this first and then watched that right after the season finale of that. And they both talked about CCD, so colony collapse disorder, which that's just how my life works. It's just weird. But that's, anyway. I didn't like the ending. I don't want to give anything away. But, anyway, whatever. It was a letdown because I expect more from. Well, Emma Stone did a great job. I have to say that.
You wonder why she got involved.
Yeah, because she acted very differently. She was a very different character in this than she has ever been before. So, yeah, she did a great job. Anyway, that's all I really have to talk about.
Okay.
So if you want to talk about...
I wanted to revert back to CSI.
Okay.
There's one thing in that final show that got my goat.
Oh, I didn't know.
So the first incident, spoiler alert, get ready. It's a Muslim guy blowing up, setting off a suicide bomb in a casino.
Yeah, he's married into, he's converted to the faith.
Yeah. Now the woman hadn't converted. She was.
Yeah, but she had nothing to do with that.
I know.
She was just his wife, right?
I know. But we get this big speech from her about thinking just because Muslims, a Muslim does something that it's terrorism. And I suppose there's an extension from that. If there's terrorism, Muslims have done it. The classic case of that is the Oklahoma City bombing back in, when was that, 1993? 94, somewhere around there. Newsflash. This is a news person, and it was covered up by Bill Clinton. They knew that one of the flunkies, Timothy McVeigh, not him, the other one, I always forget his name now. The year before, just before Christmas, the year before that, and it was maybe halfway through the year, sometime spring, summertime, springtime, when they blew up the building. Less than a year before that, they couldn't blow up a milk bottle full of explosives or whatever. Then all of a sudden, they can blow off, not a whole building, but the side of a building. How'd they do that? One of those guys visited the Philippines. Oh, they're Catholics there, not in the South. Not around Mindanao. In the South, they're Muslims. And where he visited was on the border of the South, a place called Cebu City, or Cebu. C-E-B-U. Check it up. And he actually had a mail order Filipino bride. And I suspect she was Muslim. Now, from the other side of things, in Cebu City, that winter, it was reported that, apparently from reliable sources, that Ramzi Youssef had, and his flunkies, so Ramzi Youssef was basically Al-Qaeda, I believe, had a visitor from the United States, white guy. They called him a farmer. In other words, they were looking down on him, but that's the way Muslims are. And compared to Ramzi Youssef, of course, he'd seemed like just a pig farmer or something like that. Ramzi Youssef, here's what someone said. He was the one who was making stuff that would blow up planes up in midair. I think he was Palestinian originally. Hopefully he's dead now, but maybe he's in custody somewhere. One person said, who knew about blowing stuff up, he said, guy's got the keys to the kingdom. Okay? Keys to the kingdom. About the best in the world outside of military in the strictest sense at blowing things up. He's the one who masterminded the actual technical details. In other words, the putting together the explosives. He wasn't there putting it together in Oklahoma, or in the, was it in a vehicle they had it or something like that. But he's the one that's behind it. Al-Qaeda was behind it. So under Clinton, people are going on. See, this is local. No, it was Muslim terrorism. Muslims combined with militias. What do militias have in common with Muslims? They hate Jews, and there has been a long and unfortunately fairly strong tradition of these two types of flunkies allying. So get that straight. So when this woman gets up there, like they had a little credit that at the end of the show, thanks to the Muslim women's something other sort of stuff. The woman, I don't know what the woman was saying. Something about,
Well,
you
she
know,
was
like I'm
wearing
wearing
the
a.
head covering
And she was
stuff
saying,
like that.
you know,
And
you wouldn't think
she-
of this if I were a
yeah,
nun.
would you? She said something like, "Would you have jumped to the conclusion that my husband was a terrorist if I wasn't dressed like this, or something like that?" Right?
She mentioned nuns, but do nuns
But
marry? And some others. She couldn't mention Hutterites or whatever. But the thing is, you know,
he
like.
exploded a whole. You know, he went into a casino with explosives strapped to his chest.
Yeah.
So
Muslims
no
doing that
matter
for
what, that
decades
would
now.
be the conclusion anyone would jump to, because that's what happened. He went in and exploded in a place, right? So people would, any sensible person would be saying, must have been a terrorist, right?
Thing
So,
about
yeah, okay.
thing about the head covering is in Islam, there are penalties for it in Islam. The penalty, I suppose, if you're a nun, if you don't wear it, or traditionally, I don't know what it's like now, is you're not a nun anymore. It's not you don't lose your life or you get raped. Understand, in England, this is not hundreds of years ago or even decades ago.
Yeah, but
Boys at schools, Muslim boys, were raping girls, and not just Muslim girls, who weren't wearing some sort of head covering. Eh?
And I mean, here she is. She's saying, "Well, I married my husband. You know, he converted to Islam."
He'd have
But
to, because
she said, "I moved here with him so that, like, to America, so that I could be free and this and that." And it's like, okay, so he converted to Islam,
and that's part of the
and
rules.
You are still wearing the head covering and stuff, and you're here to be free from what?
Yeah. See, that's part of the rules. Non-Muslim guys can't marry Muslim women. If she were really free, she'd say, okay, I'm giving up my religion. But guess
Yeah.
what the penalty for that is in
Yeah.
Islam? It's death.
Anyway, so you have 2 minutes if you still want to talk.
I don't want to see that kind of garbage. That's just lying. Her voice, what she's saying, is the voice of the script writers. And by explicitly, not explicitly, the voice of the producers, the directors, whatever. Stop this lying about Islam. Sharia law, when we're looking at it as an overall entity, has no more place in a democracy, any democracy, than does commie law or Nazi law. There are, I'm sure, fine things about commie law, like, you know, you shouldn't steal, you get punished. Same thing with Nazi law, there'd be the same sort of thing. You shouldn't murder, you get punished. We might disagree with punishments, you know, like death penalty in the case of quite a few things with commie law and like maybe not stealing, but murder and stuff like that. I don't believe in the death penalty. But looked at in total, the Sharia law, Nazi law, commie law are unacceptable because of the things that are involved in it. Death for apostasy, death for